Well, there were a handful of breakout performers at ADCC in 2019, but to me, the one who seems to be standing out the most is Nick Rodriguez. To recap Nick Rodriguez's story, he was a D3 wrestler, was ranked number 12 in the nation at one point in D3, decides to quit wrestling after 1 year in college, pursues modeling, and while he's doing that, he ends up picking up jiu-jitsu, picks it up really quick, and within about a year's time is now in ADCC and is competing up against black belt world champions, former ADCC world champions. And in this tournament, he made it all the way into the finals before losing to Kaynan Duarte. Um, so I think first off, one of the big storylines that you hear with him is oftentimes people break him down either as the D3 wrestler or the blue belt. And there's a lot more to him and why he's successful where other wrestlers aren't. And I think one of the most interesting things to point out here is that in the same exact bracket, there's another former high level wrestler. His name goes by He goes by Hudson Taylor. He was a D1 wrestler at Maryland, 3-time NCAA Division One All American, top 5 ever in pins. So great wrestler at that. He lost in the first round. Nick Rodriguez, who has a lower pedigree both in jiu-jitsu, him being a blue belt, Hudson Taylor being a black belt, and also in wrestling, him being D3, Taylor being D1, he was able to be a lot more successful. So why was Nick Rodriguez so successful? To start off, let's look at how Hudson Taylor lost his match. He lost to Cyborg, who would later lose to Nick Rodriguez by a score of 2-0. And he really lost it in one position here. So let's see if this can get pulled up here. But Cyborg's able to get a sweeper. He's able to knock him off balance with a 3-point sweep and then come up on top. So you can see here with a 3-point sweep. So 1 foot on the hip. He has the right ankle grabbed, and then he is behind the left knee here. So as he pushes back, Taylor's not going to be able to post with either of his legs, and he's going to fall back onto his butt. As you can see right here. Now when he falls back onto his butt, he tries to sort of like turn into him and sort of grapple through the position. And what's going to happen is Cyborg's going to get the jump on him, and he's going to end up on top. This same position is going to happen in the match between Nick Rodriguez and Cyborg, but when it happens to Nick Rodriguez, he's just gonna flee away, and Cyborg's not gonna chase him down. So one of the things that we notice about Nick Rodriguez is that when he's on top, he likes to pass from the outside, and when he's passing from the outside, if at any point he feels like his base is compromised, he'll sort of flee away, and then if you choose to chase him, that's fine, but then you're gonna have to first off be able to catch him, and he's very quick. But if you do catch him, then you have to be able to wrestle him down and control him, and most guys aren't gonna have the wrestling to be able to do that. So he's able to avoid giving up a lot of sweeps just by staying on the outside and avoiding a lot of positions where people end up loading up underneath his hips and then lifting him over. So let's start off with the Mahamed Aly match. So that was his first round match. Let's see if we can get this in order because this is at the absolute end of the match here. That's Sanchez. So just going to go back in time. So the Ali match was the first match he had. Mahamed Aly is a former black belt world champion. Worth noting with Ali, he won his black belt world title in 2018, but he decided that with this match, he wasn't going to try to pull guard early and then try to win off of his back and make it a jiu-jitsu match. Rather, this match ended up just being a 15-minute wrestling match. Now, with the way that ADCC scores wrestling matches, or what the way they score the matches, is that once you take a guy down, you actually have to be able to hold him down and hold their shoulders down for 3 seconds. So if you take him down in a turtle, you don't get your points. You'd have to take the back from there. So Aldi actually had a couple different times where he did take Rodriguez down, but he wasn't able to hold position, and therefore he wasn't able to get the points there. But a lot of the times when Ali was able to get his offense, oftentimes his offense came as a counter to Nick Rodriguez's offense. So this is one of those opportunities here where Rodriguez starts off having his back. Ali ends up countering, ends up on top, and then drives him over into the photographers off the mat. Now with ADCC, they oftentimes let you keep going even if you go off the mat if you're still trying to fight through a position. So in this case, the ref probably let him go a little bit too long, and in the end, the photographers just get crushed here. But Ali did end up on top of that wrestling exchange, even though the photographers were there, and it makes it tough for your Nick Rodriguez to base out when he's got a photographer at his feet. So here again, you have a single leg attempt by Nick Rodriguez. Ali's able to get his leg out of there pretty easily, though. Here at the end of the first period, and if he actually secures this takedown, he wins. So if you're going by freestyle rules, folk style rules, really any wrestling rules, this is 2 points here from Mahamed Aly. He gets the takedown, he gets the win. But unfortunately for him, though he does get Nick Rodriguez's butt on the mat, Rodriguez is able to spring back up and get back up really quick, so he doesn't give up the 2 points here. So then we go into the sudden death portion. So here was an opportunity for Ali. He had double underhooks, was trying to get a takedown, wasn't able to do so. Ends up driving him towards the sidelines. And then again, here he kind of ends up on top. And after he ends up on top, he's still trying to wrestle through, waiting for the ref to stop him, and even sort of gets a position similar to the back here. He doesn't have any hooks in, but the ref was like, no, we're not going to give you that position here. So they end up restarting. So here late in the match, Nick Rodriguez comes in on a single, starts to reach for the double here. Ali's going to counter him again, drives him towards the edge of the mat again. And in this case, they decide, okay, well, we're going to start in the same position. So here it's kind of tough to tell what position they're in, but the ref actually restarts him here. So this is the position it was. So again, if this is a wrestling match, that's 2 points for Mahamed Aly, but he has to hold Rodriguez down for 3 seconds and get his shoulders down. And after they do the restart here, Rodriguez is going to be able to get his hips out really quickly and escape. So no points given up here either. And then with 2 seconds left, goes for a high crotch fireman's carry. Pretty close there, but didn't have enough time to finish, and Ali was able to spring back up anyway. So it goes to a ref's decision, and it's sort of tough to figure out how they decide to score it, because if you're looking at who was the closest to actually securing points, it was actually Mahamed Aly on those 2 takedown attempts. But Rodriguez had a lot more offensive attempts. The attempts that Mahamed Aly did have oftentimes came off of Rodriguez's offensive attempts of his own. So there were more attempts at getting a takedown by Rodriguez. Ali just defended better than Rodriguez did. So do I agree with the decision? I mean, it's hard to say. I'd have to see exactly what it says specifically in the ADCC rules. There's a lot of different rule sets in jiu-jitsu, but that's how it worked out with ADCC, and Rodriguez gets the win. Even if you feel like he didn't win, though, that's a great performance against a black belt world champion, with him being a D3 wrestler who's like 10 months in. But later on, we actually did get to see him on the ground here. So here he's going up against Orlando Sanchez, hits a snap down, pushes him to his back. Sanchez decides he doesn't want to fight off his back. He's going to try to turtle up instead. From here, we really get to see Nick Rodriguez's really good back-taking abilities. So he's able to sink in both hooks really quickly here and starts working for a rear naked choke. Wasn't able to do so, or wasn't able to finish, and Sanchez is a tough guy to hold the back up just because he's got a really big belly, and it's kind of tough to keep that in. So Sanchez did get away. But for the rest of that match, Sanchez was just trying to wrestle with Rodriguez, and he wasn't having much success. He got pretty tired, ended up giving up a negative point just for passivity. So Rodriguez moves on. Then he goes on to face Cyborg. Cyborg decides, hey, look, this guy hasn't really had to do a whole lot from jiu-jitsu positions. Why don't I just pull guard and force him to deal with a guard? And what we really see here from Rodriguez is his tendency to pass towards the outside. So you can really see his hips compared to where Cyborg's hips are. Oftentimes his hips are way back. Early on in the matches, he'd be having his knees on the mat. I think he was just more trying to conserve energy here, because when the matches were later on, he was passing from his feet, which is what you want to see. But when he did go for some of his passes, a lot of times it'd be cartwheel pass attempts where he'd go for like double under passes like this. But Cyborg was really good about turtling, and then before giving up the hooks, rolling back into a guard. So again, we see the hips back of Rodriguez. Again, Rodriguez being very careful not to have his hips loaded up. Again, looking for a double underpass, just trying to find his way around. Here, Cyborg has a little attempt. Again, another pass attempt where Rodriguez gets past the guard and Cyborg has to turtle up. Again, good opportunity for Rodriguez, but again, Cyborg will be able to turtle up and roll through. This time, Cyborg decides once his legs are past, that he's actually going to try to take him down. Ends up lifting him up and dropping him down here. But then when he tried to wrestle him down, this time he gets thrown. But he's able to work his way out of there. Ends up in this position here where he is close to getting Rodriguez's back. Doesn't have his hooks in though, and decides that with 16 seconds left, he's probably not going to be able to get the hooks and get the win here. So he's going to try to go for a submission. Goes for this armbar here, ends up losing it. Rodriguez almost takes his back off of that. But that armbar attempt was pretty close. So then they go in overtime, single leg attempt here, but Rodriguez is able to just kind of flee away, and Cyborg wasn't able to follow him up and finish. Here's another single leg attempt from Cyborg. Cyborg then pulled guard off of it and was fighting off of his back for the rest of the match. Here's another cartwheel pass attempt. A lot of the pass attempts that we see out of Nick Rodriguez, they're really flashy, and I think for a judge, if there is no score, even if he doesn't get that close to passing off a cartwheel pass, it's a very obvious attempt that there actually was an attempt to pass. So that really stands out in the judge's minds, and that really went a long way for him. So we see that again. Here's that same sweep attempt that worked on Hudson Taylor, but in this case, Rodriguez is able to flee away and doesn't end up getting swept. Rodriguez stays in tight, though, and ends up winning the decision here. And I guess if you score it like an IBJJF, where you give him an advantage every time he got close to taking the back, I could see why they scored it that way. I thought Cyborg's armbar might have been enough for him to get the win, but apparently it wasn't. Yeah, so that covers the Cyborg match. There's more commentary that you could have about Cyborg in terms of how he acted. Being a guy who likes to talk about class and respect, that he really wasn't showing that himself. But this video is more about Nick Rodriguez and how he was able to do so well. And like I mentioned, a lot of things that work for him is very good wrestler, so he's hard to take down, hard to keep down when you do get him down, as Muhammad Ali saw. And when he actually is on the ground, very good at getting around to the back. And in wrestling, oftentimes that's sort of like your snap down, go behind, or when you sprawl and go behind, being able to score for 2 points from there. He's very good at that specific move, and that's really helped him out a lot in jiu-jitsu. But then going from there and being able to go from being able to get control from the side of turtle and then being able to get both hooks in, that's a skill that he's developed very well in his 12 months of jiu-jitsu or however long it's been. So that's something that he's been able to fit in as an add-on to his wrestling skills, and it's really helped out quite a bit. So that's what we saw here. We also saw him passing from the outside. We saw him using a lot of large athletic movements to try to use as like cartwheel passes, try to get strong on the inside and use a double underpass. A lot of the pass attempts that he would do are pass attempts were typically with a jiu-jitsu guy. In most jiu-jitsu rule sets, you don't give up points if you go to turtle. This is one of those rule sets as well. So if I'm about to pass your guard, if you just kind of stay there and I get into side control, I get 3 points. If you go to turtle, even though you're no longer in a guard, I don't get any points for going there. I'll get an advantage if the advantages are scored. Now, granted, if I do take your back from there, then I can get points from there. But there aren't any points yet. So oftentimes grapplers, if you do get close to passing their guard, they will turtle up. And with Nick Rodriguez, who's gotten very good at taking the back from turtle, he finds opportunities to take the back from there. So he's very good at creating quick motions from the outside, using that to get a guy to turtle up. And then once the guy turtles up, it's very good about taking the back from there. And that's really what's brought him a lot of success so far. Now in the Kaynan Duarte match in the finals, we get to see a little bit of the same stuff that we're used to seeing from him, but we also see something a little bit different. So like I mentioned before, a lot of his passing is from the outside. A lot of it's from large and quick athletic motions. It's not as though he's like winning any like unique or like any intricate grip fights and then passing off of that, which is typically what you'll see at a higher level, especially in a gi. A lot of what he's doing is quick. He's trying to force you to turtle reactively, and then once you turtle, he'll try to get control, get his hooks in, and then from there, once he has your back, just kind of use his strength to whether he gets under your neck and chokes, just gets a clean rear naked choke, or he has to use a jaw crank or something like that. He just finds a way to be nasty from the back and get a win by submission from there. So we really haven't seen a whole lot of him off of his back, but with him being a very good wrestler, it's gonna be tough to find people who are gonna be able to get him onto his back. And then from there, being able to keep him there is also a difficult thing to do. So here with Kaynan, about 6 minutes in, he gets close to a takedown attempt here. Now Kainan's going to end up rolling through and ending up on his back. From there, like I mentioned before, the Cyborg match, Rodriguez really likes to keep his hips back, doesn't like to load his hips up, tries to stay on the outside. A lot of his pass attempts are going to be on the outside. Now, he did have one very close pass attempt in this match that was from the inside, countering a butterfly sweep attempt from Kaynan. But for the most part, he doesn't like to really give you a whole lot of control of him. He's not going to try to cut right through your guard. It's more trying to stay on the outside and trying to pass from there. So here again, his hips far away from Kainan's hips. So again, if Kaynan has a chance to extend him, he's going to be able to flee to the outside, force Kaynan to have to chase him up and try to wrestle him from there. Now, in the end, that's what Kaynan decided that he was going to do, and that's how Kaynan was able to get the sweep on him. But for most guys, they're not going to have the wrestling to be able to take Nick Rodriguez down and control him if he flees away. So for him, this works out well in that if you're a much better wrestler than a guy, you can make your attempts. If you force him to turtle perfect, then you get into your game and you get a chance to try to take the back. But if they have some sort of attempt where they're able to threaten you, that's when you flee. And then if they're quick enough to even catch up to you, then they have to wrestle you. And at that point, you count on your wrestling being that much better where they're not going to be able to take advantage of it. So here's another athletic passing attempt from him or from Rodriguez. Little later on, Kainan's going to go for a leg lock. Kainan's very strong, so in most cases, especially later on in a match when Rodriguez is sweaty, he's able to get away from here. But Kaynan was actually able to hang along with him the whole way through. Ends up moving on to 50-50, trying to work for a leg lock from here. But Rodriguez, who he's training in the perfect place to deal with leg locks with him training under Danaher. Pretty impressive that he was able to escape 50-50 without really giving anything up, not even giving up position against Kaynan. Because Kaynan has been working leg locks a lot longer than Nick Rodriguez has, but I guess Rodriguez is working with the right people and sort of knows the best outs and knows how to get out of there without giving up position. But here's another example where he feels like he's about to get swept, kind of starting to come up, and he really just tries to flee away and force you to catch up to him if you're able to. But if you do catch up to him, then you have to wrestle him from there, and he counts on his ability to win those wrestling exchanges. So here, kind of was starting to look for a butterfly sweep before that, and Rodriguez gets a body lock. And then from there, just a really good pass attempt from here. I was surprised at how good it was, especially against a guy like Kaynan Duarte. It's not easy to get this far along in a pass attempt where he's bypassed the legs. After doing that, he tries to roll through and take the back. So rolling back take off of a body lock pass. This is not something that you learn from wrestling. This is just straight jiu-jitsu right here. And that's what's really impressing me about Nick Rodriguez is it's not just that he's finding ways to make his wrestling work. He's picking up a lot of skills in jiu-jitsu, and he's picking them up really quick to the point where he's able to use them against high-level black belts. Kaynan Duarte is a black belt world champion from this year. Getting out of 50-50 without giving up position against him is no small feat. It's not something that just about any wrestler could do. Nick Rodriguez is picking this sport up incredibly fast. So there's definitely something special about Nick Rodriguez that goes beyond just him being a good wrestler. And then for him to be able to attempt this pass and get this close to passing, then to say, hey, look, I'm going up against a black belt world champion, but fuck it, I'm going to go for a rolling back take here. Get pretty close to it. End up getting one hook in. Kaynan's able to stay on top of Rodriguez's right leg here, slide his hips to the mat, and not give up position here. Eventually, he'll go back to a guard. Now, what I thought was kind of interesting is that Kaynan, seeing that Rodriguez was staying on the outside for the most part, was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just actually going to try to wrestle this guy. I'm confident in my wrestling. I think I can make this work. So he kicks Rodriguez away, comes up into a double leg, and is actually able to finish this double leg. So they end up running into the table, so they have to restart from here. So again, there's no points quite yet. Kaynan's going to have to get the back to actually score points, and he does just that. He does get both hooks in. So from there, he gets his 3 points, and that 3 points was enough for him to get the win. He was able to hang on, went for a couple different rear naked choke attempts, wasn't able to finish Nick Rodriguez, which again is another testament to Nick Rodriguez's ability, is that you're not going to take just your average Joe wrestler or even like a D1 wrestler or national champion wrestler, have Kaynan Duarte on their back with 7 minutes to go for them to get away unscathed. That's what happened to Nick Rodriguez. So there's definitely something special about Nick Rodriguez that goes well beyond just him being a very good wrestler. We've had other very good wrestlers that have done this tournament and haven't had the success he's had. We talked about Hudson Taylor in this specific bracket, one and done. We had Rustam Chisev, who's a very good wrestler in his own right, I believe an international level wrestler for Russia. He got beaten in the first round in the 88 kilogram bracket by John Blank. We've had Ben Askren do this tournament before. He gets put away. Ben Henderson's a pretty good wrestler. He got put away pretty quickly. Chris Weidman's a very good wrestler. He didn't make this kind of a run. So it's not just that Nick Rodriguez has good wrestling, but he's found a very good way to make his wrestling work for his game and really force other people into his strengths and really use the ADCC rule set into his strengths. So for him, even when he was taken down, he was able to get back up and keep from being controlled for long. We saw it specifically with the Muhammad Ali match. Very tough to take down in the first place. If you do get close to sweeping him, it's tough to get under him in the first place. So his hips are going to be far away from you to begin with. But if you do get close on a sweep, then you have to chase him down. He's very quick, so it's hard to chase him down in the first place. If you do chase him down, it's tough to really take him down and control him from there. Kaynan was able to do so, but a couple other people had tried and weren't able to do so. So Nick Rodriguez has really done a great job, both in terms of learning skills, learning them very quickly, but then also making a lot of really smart tactical decisions and how he's going to use the skills that he does have right now to give himself the best opportunity to win. So as far as whether or not he's going to be a player in the ADCC world in 2021 and beyond, that remains to be seen. I think a lot of people tend to assume that when someone has a strong start, that means that they're going to be so much better the next time around. There are two ways to look at it. One of them is the potential route, where it's like, wow, this guy has a lot of potential. If he's this good as a blue belt, imagine how he'll be with even more jiu-jitsu experience. But on the other end, you're going to have competitors who are now going to be paying a lot more attention to him and are going to scout him out a lot better. So though he will get better with time, the question is going to be how much information is out on him now that he's gone through ADCC? What are his opponents going to do to deal with him? Are they just going to say, you know what, screw it, I'm not going to try to wrestle with this guy. I'll force him to have to play from top. He likes to pass from the outside. Maybe I can find a way to make him pay for that. So it'll be interesting to see how other competitors game plan against him now that they've actually seen some more of him. It'll be interesting to see how fast he's able to pick up some other skills. He's definitely a guy I want to see some more of, but I don't know that I would go as far as to say that he's a guaranteed winner of ADCC in 2019 or in 2021, but there's a lot there. He's got a lot of skills to work with, and he seems to be picking up the sport really, really fast.